On today's episode, we're answering the question, no, we're not, because I'm on the wrong damn outline.
So the qualification for me in the way that I teach the sales process, a lot of times is happening during discovery. Now, there are things that you can put in place that if you're getting on calls with people who are tire kickers and that's happening over and over again, then you could put some type of a qualifier in the form of an intake form that somebody had to fill out before they get on the call with you. Also, when you are out in the marketplace marketing yourself, you should also be really attracting your ideal clients and frankly repelling people who are not a good fit. So, one of the ways that people are often afraid to make a qualifier is simply by listing pricing on their website. I can't tell you how many times people are like, all coaches tell me never list your price on your website, Nikki, because people won't get on phone calls with you. And I was like, well, that's the best way to qualify people is put your pricing on your website so that you don't get a bunch of tire kickers. And I'm really adamant. This is one of those places that I will say I differ than most sales coaches because the pricing isn't there for you. The pricing is there for them to look at it and go, oh, yeah, this is in my price range. And I truly don't believe that if people see your pricing on your website, they refuse to get on calls with you. Tire kickers will, because they're like, I would never pay that to work with Nikki. So there's no way I'm going to get on a call with her. Great. I don't ever want to get on a call with somebody who's like, I would never pay for sales coaching. Perfect. Don't waste my time or yours by getting on a call. So there's lots of ways to qualify people in the market. But the thing that I think sometimes people are afraid to get on the discovery call. And so they want to put up all these qualifiers to almost like it's a foregone conclusion that I'm going to close this sale. But really, when you get on a call with somebody, it's a great opportunity to build rapport. It's a great opportunity to build know, like, and trust. So I don't want you to be afraid to get on live interactions with people because that is how you earn business.
I want to back up to the whole price thing.
Okay.
Because you are different than most people. And frankly, I am not a full price giver. I am an expectation setter. Okay. So the way that I do that, and I want to just kind of get your thoughts and see if we're really different or maybe we're in line, is I will say all of my prices have a comma in them. Like I set the expectation. I'm not cheap. Am I the most expensive out there? Nope. But I'm definitely not the cheapest. And that's because a lot of times it takes that one-on-one interaction, that little bit of consultative stuff that you're probably going to tell me I'm doing wrong in a sales call. It takes that to build enough trust in the value and what I have to offer in order to command the prices that I do. Does that make sense? Am I saying that in a way that you understand?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, here's the thing is if it's working for you, keep doing it, right? If you're not getting qualified leads or if you're not getting the kind of leads that you want, then it's time to do something else, right? So the thing that I would caution you about is I love that you give this, like, I have commas in all of my pricing. That's a nice qualifier, but really what I'd rather you say is give a range because then people can decide, because truly, if somebody knew that you could say comma, okay, well, that's $1,000, but really if it's $10,000, that's a very different conversation. And by not having pricing available in the marketplace, and I'm not saying you have to have every price on your website, you certainly don't, but by having some pricing and allowing people to qualify, if you don't do this, the first and most common thing people are now stressed about when they get on a call with you is how much is it? Am I going to be embarrassed when I have to tell Allison I can't afford her pricing? So you're putting them in a position now of having to worry about price during that conversation with you. And I personally think that's a mistake. I want to create safety. I want them to feel really good about the conversation that we're having. I want them to know that, hey, what you get or what you see is what you get with me. I'm not trying to hide things. I'm not trying to manipulate. I'm not trying to convince. And my philosophy around sales isn't something you do to people. It's something you do with. So I'm not ashamed of my pricing, and I'm not the least expensive sales coach out there either. But the fact of the matter is I'm very, very good at what I do. My clients make money at the things that we do. So I'm not afraid to just say, this is the pricing. Now, if they want to negotiate it, that's on them. But I rarely get people who get on calls with me and they're like, I have no idea how much you charge. Because if they're really worried about price, they've already looked at my website. And if they're not worried about price and they get on the call with me, it was never about price to begin with. So we'll go over price at some point when they're ready to say yes and hire me. But I don't bring that into the conversation because that's not what I'm doing. I'm establishing, do they have a need and do I have a solution for them?
Okay, I'm really enjoying this conversation about the pricing thing. I want to move into a little bit more of the discovery call thing. But the last thing I want to ask, and I do want to ask you a question about it. So I'm actually redoing my website, and I'm thinking, because there's a range of prices that I work within, of saying, if you want to do X with me, starting at, because there's so many variables in Allison and I both do done for you services. So there's variables, right? So I want to ask you, does that seem like a good, what's the right word? Does that seem like a good middle ground?
The thing about saying starting at, and then when you list a price, you're actually anchoring the lower price. And by anchoring the lower price, then when you give a higher price, people are like, oh, like, okay. Oh man, I wanted the lower price. So I would still recommend for you that, Jenny, when you put pricing on your website, that you have prices range between this and this. And I honestly don't care if you say $5 and $100,000. I would want you to put some kind of a qualifier that might say,
yeah, of course.
Typically a package, a typical package runs this, or the most popular package is around, or is between. So let's say you say between $5 and $10,000, just to be more realistic. And you could say a typical package runs, or, the most popular package, for instance, runs between 7 and 8,000. So now I've anchored this. So if you come in with a package that's $5,000, people are going to go like, ooh, I got a deal from Jenny. And if you come in with something that's 8,500, they're like, okay, I can see why, because she's doing this extra thing for me, or whatever that is. So so be careful about starting at. It's better than nothing. I will say that. It's better than I don't put my pricing on my website. But I don't necessarily want you to anchor the lower price.
Okay. I get it. You're slowly converting me over from one to the other, right? Allison, and this is probably one of the reasons why this podcast is so fun to do.
Oh my gosh, I learned so much.
Yeah, exactly. We learn so much, and we have the ability, quite honestly, this is a very selfish podcast. We absolutely use it for our own devices, but it's a wonderful opportunity for us to say, it's for you, audience, when really it's like, dude, we need to change.
So, and we get to meet and talk to like super smart people.
Yeah, it's like having a mastermind on steroids. We love it. I want to transition, like I said earlier, back over to discovery calls and the close. Okay, so getting to the close, being able to close somebody into your program, product, or service is really daunting, and we find that people, me included in the past, and Allison actually watched it happen once on a discovery call, where we're talking about how we can help somebody and how we can serve them. And then the transition from the here's how I can help you and into the sale can feel very uncomfortable.
Okay.
So I'd love to get your expert advice on how do you get comfortable in transitioning from, it sounds like you're experiencing XYZ in your business, and that I'm sure that's really difficult for you, and it sounds really frustrating and things like that. And for this is my own personal script. Usually I'll say something like, it sounds really challenging for you. I do have something that I think can help. Would you like me to share what that might be with you? That's my personal transition.
Yeah.
What's the right way to be transitioning into the sale for people who are uncomfortable?
So I think you're like 95% there, because you are asking a question, because most people, in this, they think selling is talking at, but it's actually talking with. And when you talk with, you ask questions. So I don't believe in just like saying, oh, it sounds like that's really hard for you. You should really, consider this package. Here it is, blah, blah, blah. That's like, you kind of skipped some steps there a little bit. So what you did is you asked a question. Now, I want you to have a powerful way to transition for them. So you're going to ask permission before you start selling, which is what you're doing now. I love asking permission, but we'll see if you like this. So you tell me, Jenny, if you're like, nah, I don't like that at all, and we'll come up with something else. But I think it's important to say to them, based on what you've shared, I do have a recommendation of a way that's going to solve this or can help you get the solution that you're looking for. Would you like to hear more about that? So you're saying like, I've got a solution and I'll give it to you. Do you want to hear about it?
Absolutely. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still
so
that
you're just asking
based.
permission. Yep.
Yeah. And I do that throughout calls.
So now you're in the place where really in the discovery, when now you've moved to step 4, really stand in your like authentic power, your credibility, show up as your full self, the expert that you are, and recommend what the person needs, not even what you think they can afford, unless they've been really, really clear about exact pricing, which most people aren't. So recommend what you know is going to solve their problem. And then let them say, yes, no, I have a question, or gosh, that's out of my price range. Let them have a response. Don't anticipate what their response is going to be, but really stand in that place of credibility and make that recommendation, and make it from a place of like, this is for you, because it really is for them. It's not about you. It's not about like, hey, I'm just here to try to get as much money as I can, because that feels disgusting. And that's not how we sell.
We've talked a lot about why you should build your email list.